everyone, this is Trevor, and thank you for coming to my show, the Pioneer Spirit Channel. I appreciate everyone who's come here and liked, shared, commented, subscribed, hit the bell notification. All of your help in that regards helps immensely. To keep the Pioneer Homestead going. So, with that being said, thank you very much. And today's topic for the show, volunteer police. Volunteer police. What do I mean by that? Well, there has been a push in the last several years to defund the police. And I'm not for that. But I'm also not against that. So I'm going to have to obviously explain my position on that. So people, they want safety and they want freedom. I would say I would rather have freedom over safety, because when you give up freedom, you deserve neither your safety or freedom. So I think freedom first over safety, but definitely we need them. We need the safety. Everybody wants to feel safe. So, that being said, how do we get from where we're at right now in our the style of policing that we have? And what is the style of policing that we have? It is a government-run, obviously, policing. And I really don't think that we have accountability in the sense that the policing that we have, when it is run in the style that it is. Now, policing, you get hired onto a police force, and you're there for a few years. As long as you're toeing the line and doing what you're told, the odds of you getting fired for any kind of misconduct are difficult. Okay, policing has an extremely powerful union. Which is funny, because unions at one time were there to fight for the individual and the small groups of people, and now unions, as of 2023, or even before that, are just become the giant conglomerates that they were fighting against. So as in policing today, you have very strong unions. There's no accountability in the sense that, hey, if you're actively doing something wrong, there's maybe reprimands, a day loss of pay. There's really no accountability. So how do we bring in accountability? Well, we can't defund the police. You can't just get rid of policing like that. You just can't hit the red button over. Now, there's people that will say, yes, you can, but I believe there are some better solutions to that. So, first and foremost, my solution to bringing about communities of safety and freedom would be to allow good citizens to have the right to bear arms. Okay? Every citizen would, in fact, be a volunteer police officer. Okay? A cop. A citizen on patrol. And that's how I view cop. Okay, that's just short form for citizens on patrol. When every citizen in your community has the voluntary option to carry openly or concealed a firearm, you are in fact a volunteer police officer. And I would argue that the communities, especially when you look at the United States, communities that are 100% voluntary option to open or conceal carry a firearm, I would argue that these communities are safe, they are free, very low crime rates. Which, in fact, when you do have that, then you can actually lower your amount of police in your community when you do that. If that's your goal too, you really want to defund the police, well, when you have cops, citizens on patrol, you will win your case for, we got that. We got to defund the police. Now, I'm not sure how many people are would agree to that, because most people who want to defund the police would also like to disarm the citizenry, and that's not right. So I think right there you're going to hold accountable the police officers when every citizen has the right to bear arms. You're just going to have a safer and freer community. And I would like to, I would, there are communities in the United States that do adhere to that Second Amendment and have that. They are like, hey, you want to open carry, conceal carry, that's up to you. I would beg that these places in the United States that would have, quote unquote, like gun-free zones are actually places that are not free. They are not safe because you can't carry a police officer on your back. Okay, no, I nobody. It's you cannot have a police officer with you 24/7 when you're in a so-called gun-free zone, which in fact isn't gun-free because the police officer you would have comes with a gun. Why? Because that's how you have someone that wishes to do harm to you will think twice if you are carrying a firearm. That's why police officers carry firearms. So how do I get to my, yes, I do agree with defunding police in the sense that I do think that policing, first and foremost, we need volunteer police, and that's citizens on patrol. I would go for next I advocate for a free market policing, and should that, I think every community should have that option as well. Should that option not be what the community wants, then we should have a system of voting in, which this is why it's at the bottom of my list, but it is on the list if citizens want to vote in their chief of police, the head chief, whatever, the higher ups on your policing force, department, service, however you want to label that, should be voted in. Now, obviously, it's I've thought about this. You can't vote in every deputy, every street cop. You can't do that. But I think that option of at least voting in your higher ups and giving them a term of service, what 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever the community decides, would be a very good option because that chief of police, he's getting paid really well. That sheriff, the higher ups, the superintendents, the higher ups on that policing force don't want to get fired. They don't want to lose their term of service, so they want to make sure that their deputies, their constables, the street walking cops, whatever, are being accountable to the people that have hired them, essentially, either through voting or through voting with your dollars. I feel that is a far more accountable way of having a police, and but these ideas I share that having obviously citizens on patrol, that's going to reduce the number of either free market or voted in policing police officers are going to be less of them needed, especially too in a community where you're saying to your police, we want we need you here for such things as crimes against humanity. Obviously, every cop, every citizen on patrol, and your voted in or hired police officers are there to maintain that we're trying to be proactive and not have crimes against humanity. Obviously, your murder, rape, assault, theft, your natural laws. We want those to be proactively and reactively taken care of. So these solutions that I offer will not happen, or at least, well, they will happen. I know they'll happen. Maybe not in my lifetime. Hopefully they do. But because of these solutions that I have for a more freer and safer communities, they rub against what politicians and police officers want. Like politicians don't want an armed citizenry, okay? It's very difficult to implement mandates, and we all know what I'm talking about when I say mandates for the last 3 years. It's very difficult to mandate things. It's very difficult to load your citizenry onto the proverbial train cars, right? It's very hard to load people on. do those kind of things. And police officers, I have heard them, yes, they say, we do believe in citizens having the right to bear arms. I believe that's BS. I don't believe any police officer working under the system that they currently have wants to have an armed citizenry. Okay, because let's look at the people that do get into policing today, and throughout the years as well, too, under the system of policing that we have, which is a controlled monopoly of violence that the government controls, right? Who gets into policing? Bullies, people who were bullied, and then you get your super cops, the Serpicos, who feel that they can, hey, I can come into a police department like the New York City Police and change it from within. I can get those bullies and the people who were bullied, and I can get those cops who just want to coop up and sit in their squad car for 8 hours a day. I can get them to be really good police officers. Woohoo! I can get them to adhere to the Constitution and be fair and friendly. No, those are super cops. Those are super cops, and they're Serpicos, and they're no good either. So to get rid of these bullies and the people who were bullied and the super cops, I believe a system of a free market or voting them in, which I'm not really high on that, but let's try that. And definitely having your first and foremost best form of policing are cops, citizens on patrol. So to have those three things there, it's very difficult to implement them because of policing. Like I mentioned before, their unions are absolutely huge conglomerates, very powerful. And police officers, they get into a department, they could work there for, 20 years. They're, earning over $100,000 a year. It's a good pay. It's not a system that they want to just get rid of, right? But it is a system that the citizens should start considering. So yes, it's strange. I am not for defunding the police, but I also am for defunding them in the current state that we're in. But we need policing, right? I do feel that every community needs policing, but it comes down to the citizens that live in that community, and it's up to them to police themselves. And you don't have to be like your brother's keeper and be out there watching everybody. But when everybody is free to protect their life, their friends, their family, their loved ones, themselves. And how do we do that in this day and age? Okay, that's with a sidearm. Okay, and personally, on a side note, I would open and conceal carry. My favorite way would be to open carry a revolver in a cavalry draw. If you don't know what that is, I highly recommend looking that up. And I would have a concealed firearm as well, too. And it's you barely even know they're there. You go about your day, you do your business, and I feel that criminals are going to be less inclined to come into a community that has citizens, the cops, citizens on patrol, cops. They're going to be less inclined to come into your community knowing that, I can't rob this guy. He might have a firearm. His neighbor might have a firearm. The wife, the brother, the sisters. Some adult in this community is going to have a firearm. So, and to come back to the policing too. Now, I know I would say there's a majority of police officers, again, are bullies. They were bullied, or they're the Serpicos. Okay, those are the kind of people that are attracted to that kind of profession. Because you're now given, police, they have I call it like the Batman belt. They have tasers, truncheon sticks, mace, pepper spray, obviously a firearm. They got a whole gamut of weapons, and tools on their belt, right? Should they be that kind of person that is the bully or the person that was bullied? There is they have a bit more way of calming, of controlling people, right? They come up to you and start questioning you. Well, maybe there would be more accountability in a service that is a free market run, or they're voted in. Okay, there has to be accountability. Okay, and I know that people are like, well, we can't have criminals around there. We can't have police officers acting like, you know, like I guess like Mister Rogers or something, all that too. No, I mean, I want police officers to know what they're doing in that kind of policing that I am talking about. But there's going to be less inclined. You're going to get rid of the bullies. Okay, you're going to get rid of the people that were bullied that want to go out and just bully citizens. And you're going to get rid of those police officers too that just get in the cruiser every morning and want to coop up somewhere for 8 hours. And that's something that Serpico talked about too, which he hated. Which I don't like that either. I want, if you're going to be out there policing, do it, but do it in a way that you're accountable to your customers. Okay, and start talk. And we need to start relating to one another as in that kind of term of whether the police are voted in or a free market. They have to be accountable to their customers. Right now, policing the way it's done, they do view us the same way politicians view us. We're like constituents. Okay, so there's no accountability there. But how do we implement this more of a voluntary way of relating to one another? We have to keep talking about these ideas, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm out here sharing these ideas, more of a voluntary way to relate to one another. In relationships, work relationships, trading of goods and services. So there, yeah. So that's what I'm talking about when I say a volunteer police. Volunteer police. First and foremost, yep, you got to have the cops, the citizens on patrol. Okay, that's the right to bear arms. And that right should go for people who live in a community of 200 people up to 2 million people. Whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. And I would like to see, obviously, policing get more back to if it ever was there, policing, your natural law. You'll be proactive, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to be reactive to crimes against humanity. And again, we are going to have crimes, even under my system. There will be homicide. Okay, as far back, the stories of Cain and Abel. They had a rock. They used a rock back then. Well, what's the modern form of a rock? Is a gun. So you're going to have your homicide with communities that are armed. Okay. But one thing that's really going to be difficult is to have such things as genocide, as rounding up the citizens, putting them on a cattle car, shoving them into a paddy wagon. These things are very difficult to do when citizens are armed and they feel free, they feel safe. Okay, and again, you see some rough people or something. You don't know what's going to happen. I can't. Nobody's got a cop on their back. I mean, obviously, nobody. You understand what I mean when I say that. Obviously, you can't have a cop with you 24/7. So, but you can have Mr. Smith and Wesson or Ruger, which is my favorite. So, these are my solutions to the current day policing and how I would discuss this with people who shout at the top of their lungs saying we need to defund the police. And I say, oh, okay, but there has to be some kind of policing. There has to be policing. And again, first and foremost, cops, citizens on patrol. Okay, communities need to look at free market solutions in policing. If that's not up your alley, then look at ways of voting in your higher ups, your sheriffs, your captains, and whatnot. And maybe that system could, maybe it's a form of accountability, but I'm not quite on that voting part of it. But anyways, that's where I'm at. I'm going to make, obviously, a few more videos on this. I think there's a lot of nuance into this and a lot more questions into it, but I do believe that more people need to start talking about a volunteer way of policing. So, that being said, I hope everybody's doing well and stay free.